You ever meet someone and just know they're full of it? Like your gut starts buzzing before they even open their mouth? That was my first impression of Travis. Slick hair, cologne that smelled like the sample aisle at a Walgreens, and the kind of smile that always looked ready for a LinkedIn headshot. He came into my life wearing a blazer to a backyard barbecue and called my daughter Ella kiddo the first time they met. And he's only 3 years older than her. I should have trusted my instincts. But when your daughter's happy, you shut your damn mouth. Ella, my whole world. Bright, brave, the kind of woman who never forgets your birthday and still calls her kindergarten teacher every Christmas. She lost her mom when she was 9. Drunk driver, snowy road, late December. I raised her alone. That kind of thing puts steel in you. And maybe it made me a little overprotective. But hell, sue me. When she brought Travis home for the first time, I remember the way he shook my hand. Like he was trying to close a business deal, not meet the man who'd be walking her down the aisle one day. Big fan of your lawn, he said. My lawn? Who the hell says that? He proposed 8 months later. Flashy restaurant, those stupid sparklers in the dessert. Posted the video online before he even told her grandparents. Ella was crying with happiness. I was smiling, sure. But I had this knot in my stomach I couldn't shake. You don't say no when your daughter's glowing like that. You just keep smiling and hope you're wrong. 3 years passed. They bought a nice split level just outside Des Moines. Ella got promoted to HR manager at a big regional hospital, and Travis? He worked remotely for a tech company doing some platform optimization crap I never understood. What I did understand is he started showing up to family dinners late. Forgot our anniversary of her mother's passing 1 year. Got real defensive when Ella brought up kids. He's just under a lot of pressure right now, she said once. A big account, maybe a promotion. Sure, I've heard that before. Usually from guys who keep gym bags in their trunk and backup phones on silent. Then came that Friday. Me and my buddy Ron. He's an old trucker, now retired and drinks like a fish. We're at O'Malley's, our usual dive. We were halfway through a basket of onion rings when Travis walked in. But he wasn't alone. He had his arm slung around a blonde in a green sundress, the kind of woman who laughs like the world owes her a good time. He kissed her on the cheek, ordered drinks, sat across from her like this was their spot. I didn't move, didn't blink, just sat there chewing stale onion rings while something inside me cracked. Not loud, not angry, just cold. Ron noticed. Gary? That your boy? Yup. He let out a low whistle. Want me to go kick his ass? No, I said, staring straight ahead. I want to see how deep the rabbit hole goes. I didn't take pictures. I didn't confront him. I didn't even pay my tab. I just walked out, sat in my truck for a long time, and let the cold settle in. You see, I'm not a violent man. I don't do scenes. I don't yell in public or throw punches in bars. But I've spent my whole life cleaning up other people's messes. And now, I was done cleaning. It was time he stepped in it. You learn a lot working 30 years in a high school. Kids lie. Teachers lie. Parents lie badly. But patterns? Those don't lie. So when I saw Travis with that girl at O'Malley's, I didn't react like a man catching his first cheater. I reacted like a man who's seen this movie before. Only this time, it wasn't a scared teenager trying to weasel out of detention. It was the smug bastard who married my daughter. So the next morning, while Ella was texting me photos of the casserole she was making for their Friday night in, I was sitting in my recliner with my laptop, muttering like an old man talking to his tools, which technically I was. First step? Plate number. The Toyota Camry they drove off in was a rental, not their usual Subaru. That raised a red flag all on its own. I remembered the plate Colorado tags. I jotted it down on a napkin from the glove box before I drove home. A habit from my coaching days: always document. Always cover your ass. Now, I wasn't about to file a formal request with the DMV. I'm not the CIA. But I did have a former student named Pete working patrol with Iowa State Troopers. Pete had a nose ring, a temper problem, and used to punch lockers in high school, until I made him run stairs for 2 hours straight and got him into wrestling. He owed me. Pete, I got a situation. I told him over coffee at Jitters on Sunday. You in trouble? He asked. Nah, but someone's about to be. He ran the plate. The Camry was rented out of Des Moines Airport by one Travis Whitaker. Same address as Ella's house. Nothing suspicious on paper. But Pete said something interesting. You know what stands out, he said, sipping his mocha with 2 pumps of self-loathing. He's rented from that agency 6 times in 3 months. Different cities. Always weekends. Always one-day rentals. Where's he going? I asked. Davenport. Ames. Even once in Cedar Rapids. Now unless this guy's secretly auditioning for a tour of Iowa's saddest cities, I knew what this meant. He was living 2 lives. Possibly more. I didn't want to believe it yet. I still had some dumb old dad fantasy that maybe I'd misunderstood the situation. Maybe she was a cousin. A coworker. A flirty Uber driver with boundary issues. But then Monday rolled around. Ella called that night. Told me Travis was working late again, trying to close a client. I told her to get some sleep. That I loved her. Then I drove down to the Des Moines apartment complex Pete had traced from one of the rental drop-offs. Unit 214. Name on the mailbox, Kelsey Jordan. No mention of Travis. But right as I turned to leave, I saw him. Walking out of her apartment. Wearing the shirt Ella got him last Christmas. Same damn shirt. Hair mussed. Keys jingling. Kissing her on the cheek with a casual confidence that told me this wasn't new. It was rehearsed. Practiced. Routine. And right then, the weight of it all hit me, not like an explosion, but like a long, slow exhale. This wasn't about cheating. This wasn't a mistake. Travis wasn't slipping. He was playing a long game. And he thought I was too old and too dumb to notice. There's a point in every storm when the thunder goes quiet and you just hear the rain falling, steady, deliberate, no drama left in it. That's where my head was as I drove home from Des Moines after seeing Travis kiss that girl. Kelsey Jordan. She looked like she just rolled out of a lifestyle blog, vintage cardigan, reusable grocery tote, those white sneakers every 20-something woman owns like it's part of some unspoken sisterhood. And Travis? He looked relaxed. Happy even. Like a man with no secrets and a freshly grilled steak waiting inside. I went home and opened the bottle of scotch I keep for only funerals and moments when life slaps you in the mouth and dares you to hit back. I had 1 glass, stared at the wall, then started writing. Names. Dates. Places. License plate numbers. What Ella told me. What Pete found. What I saw. I built a folder, labeled it TW, Decay, and saved it in 3 places. Because I wasn't just catching a cheater. I was building a case. By Thursday, I had a plan. Step 1. Find out what Kelsey knew. I didn't want to scare her. She wasn't the enemy. Hell, she might have been just as lied to as Ella. So I did what any mildly tech-savvy dad with too much time on his hands would do. I found her Instagram. It was public. Of course it was. Kelsey had a thing for sunsets, homemade candles, and selfies taken in the reflection of cafe windows. And there, buried between pictures of overpriced coffee and beige salads, was Travis. In a hoodie. Arm around her waist. Caption, he makes everything better. Posted 6 weeks ago. I made a burner account. Used a photo of a labradoodle I found online and the name Grant with 72. Sent her a DM. Hey, this is going to sound strange, but I think we should talk. I'm not who you think I am, but I know who he is. 10 hours later, she replied. Who are you? I gave her a phone number. Not mine, one I set up through a burner app. She called that evening. Nervous. Soft voice. Midwestern polite. Kelsey? I said. Yes, who is this? My name's Gary. I'm the father of the woman Travis is actually married to. Silence. Then, what? I'm not calling to yell. I just want to tell you the truth. And then you can decide what to do with it. We talked for 38 minutes. I had notes. Dates. Proof. I never raised my voice. Didn't need to. The facts did the work. She didn't cry. She got quiet. At one point, she asked, he said you were dead. I nearly dropped the phone. Excuse me. He told me his dad died years ago. That his mom lives in Oregon. Well, I said I'm alive, I'm in Iowa, and I just spent the last week watching your boyfriend cheat on my daughter. Long silence. Then she asked, "What do we do?" That's when I smiled. Just a little. First, I said we let him keep thinking he's the smartest man in the room. The funny thing about liars? They don't know how to stop. They think they're in a spy movie, always one step ahead, improvising their way out of tight corners with charm and half-truths. What they don't realize is every lie they tell becomes a tripwire. And the more you lay down, the harder it is to avoid setting one off. Travis was building his own minefield. I just had to wait for the boom. After my call with Kelsey, we kept talking. Carefully. She was stunned at first, like she'd wandered onto the set of someone else's drama and didn't know her lines. But the more she processed it, the more focused she became. I saw it in her voice, the shift from confusion to anger to resolve. "He told me you were a retired military guy," she said during our second call. "Said you drank too much and didn't want him around." I almost laughed. I coached high school wrestling for 30 years. I don't even own a gun. But he's not totally wrong, I do drink too much. Lately, anyway. That got a chuckle out of her. First one I'd heard. Over the next week, Kelsey and I ran a quiet little operation. She agreed to keep seeing him, like normal. I know, it sounds twisted. But she wanted answers. And I needed access. So while she smiled and played the role of the other woman, she collected data. Travis was a creature of habit. Friday nights, he came over with pad thai and red wine. Saturday mornings, he left early, claimed he was going to help his dad with yard work, which was a hell of a choice considering he'd told her I was dead. She started asking casual questions. "When's the divorce final? Why don't you have pictures of your kids? Can I meet your family?" He always had an answer. And I told her to let him answer. Let him talk. Meanwhile, I was getting my legal ducks in a row. I talked to a lawyer named Ellie. I knew her dad from back in the district maintenance crew. She confirmed what I'd already suspected. Iowa's a no-fault divorce state, but evidence of infidelity can still influence asset division and custody decisions. Not to mention, if you can prove dissipation of marital assets, spending family money on an affair, you can claw it back in court. "Build the paper trail," she said. "Build it tight." That became my job. Hotel receipts, bank statements, credit card charges, travel apps. I was meticulous. I had 3 folders: financial, physical evidence, and communications. I started to enjoy it in the way a man might enjoy sharpening an axe he hasn't yet decided to use. Then came the phone call that made it real. Kelsey was whispering like she'd gone into the bathroom. "He just told me he loves me," she said. "He says he's leaving his wife in the spring. Said she's too career-focused and doesn't want kids." I nearly dropped the phone. Ella has wanted children since college. She cried when her friend had a miscarriage. She has a Pinterest board called Baby Stuff. And this son of a bitch was using that against her. "Gary," Kelsey said, "we need to end this." "We will," I said. "But not with yelling. Not with a fight." "Then how?" "We let him put the gun in his own mouth and pull the trigger." The trap wasn't a flashy thing. No spy cameras or secret recordings, no dramatic confrontations in restaurants. That stuff's for movies. Real revenge, the kind that works, looks like nothing at all until the moment everything collapses. We picked Ella's birthday weekend. She'd been planning a small dinner at home, just the 2 of them, candles, homemade pot roast, Travis's favorite, funny enough. She'd even asked me if I could come by earlier in the day and help her fix the porch light. I told her I'd be there with tools and pie. Meanwhile, Travis told her he had to work late Friday night. Big pitch? Emergency meeting. "I'll make it up to you Saturday, babe." I could hear his voice in my head when Ella told me over the phone, smooth, slightly annoyed at being questioned, the kind of voice that expected forgiveness as a default. She was disappointed. Of course she was. "I guess it's just one of those things," she said. "No, honey. It's not." But I didn't say that. Instead, I made my way down to Des Moines Friday night, parking a block away from Kelsey's apartment with a thermos of gas station coffee and the slow, steady patience of a man who once waited 11 hours in a gymnasium for a busted steam pipe to finish draining. Kelsey played it cool. She texted me updates like mission control. He just texted, ETA 7:15. I set up candles. Made the pad thai. Wearing the sweater he said makes me look like a Whole Foods angel. Gag me. At 7:21, Travis walked in. And so did my guy Mark, another favor from the old janitors union. Retired photojournalist. Still sharp with a camera. We'd set him up in the apartment across the street, looking right into Kelsey's living room through the open curtains. The photos were perfect. Romantic dinner. Hand-holding. One kiss on the neck, another on the lips. At one point, he fed her noodles. I mean, come on. Who does that unless they're either married or starring in a low-rent cooking show? By 9:30, Travis was lounging on her couch, shoes off, jacket slung over a chair like he lived there. That's when Kelsey excused herself to the bathroom and sent me the final message. Now? Now. While she was gone, Travis's phone buzzed. Kelsey had set an alarm for him, labeled "Don't forget Ella's birthday tomorrow." The photo Mark got of him staring at it? Chef's kiss. Confusion, guilt, and panic all mixed together like a cheap cocktail. And then, just to twist the knife, Kelsey returned, leaned in, and said, "So, I've been thinking. Do you ever see yourself marrying me?" That got him. He didn't stutter, he launched into a speech. One of those long, winding, absolutely idiotic monologues full of vague promises and half-baked timelines. Kelsey kept a straight face. God bless her. But she recorded it start to finish, phone on silent on the table. He even said the words, "I love you, Kels. Ella's not, she's just not who I see myself raising a family with. She's too focused on her job. You get me." I watched the live feed on my burner phone and whispered, "You just buried yourself." When he finally left, humming like a man who thinks he got away with it, Kelsey locked the door behind him. She sent me the audio, sent Mark the signal to pack up, and then she sat on her couch and texted me 2 words. "Never again. There's no preparing for the moment you break your daughter's world." I'd rehearsed the speech in my head 100 times. "He's not who you think. There's something you need to see. I'm sorry I didn't tell you sooner." None of it felt right. Every word sounded too soft or too sharp. There's no version of "your husband's been lying to you for a year" that doesn't cut bone. So I decided not to say much at all. Saturday morning, I showed up with the pie, the toolbox, and a flash drive. "Happy birthday, kid," I said, forcing a smile. "Thanks, Dad." She was wearing a t-shirt from her bachelorette party and her favorite fuzzy socks. Hair pulled up, face clean, no makeup. Just her. The real her. The kind of woman who made lemonade for the mailman in July and cried at Subaru commercials. "I made coffee," she said. I nodded and followed her into the kitchen. She handed me a mug, started talking about work. Someone in HR had quit. She was covering until they found a temp. Meanwhile, Travis was sleeping in, apparently wiped out from his late-night pitch. I almost choked on the coffee. "I need to show you something," I said. She looked at me curious. Not suspicious yet. "Is it the porch light?" she asked. "No," I said. "Not that." I pulled out the flash drive, plugged it into her laptop, clicked the folder named Truth. The first image, Travis feeding Kelsey noodles by candlelight. Ella blinked. The second, Travis curled up on Kelsey's couch, shoes off, holding a wine glass like he belonged there. Still no reaction. Just slow breathing. Eyes wide, locked to the screen. Then the audio. That long, rambling declaration of real love, of wanting kids with someone who understands me, of how Ella was too focused on her career. I stood still, hands clenched in my jacket pockets, waiting for the wave to hit. She didn't cry. Didn't scream. Just closed the laptop, stood up, walked to the sink, and washed her coffee mug. 3 passes under the faucet like it was covered in poison. "He told me he wanted kids," she said. Voice quiet. "He said we should wait until after my certification. That he supported my promotion. That we were building a future." "I know." She dried the mug. Set it down. Turned to me. "How long have you known?" I told her the truth. From the first sighting at O'Malley's to the phone calls with Kelsey to the trap we'd set. I gave her everything. No sugarcoating. She sat down at the kitchen table. Looked out the window for a long moment. Then she said the words that told me she hadn't broken, she'd shifted. "I don't want to scream. I don't want to throw things. I want him to feel it." "Good," I said. "Because I've got a folder that'll make his life real uncomfortable." "What's our play?" "Our?" She looked me dead in the eye. Same look she gave me when she was 15 and decided to run for student body president the day before elections. Calm. Deadly. "If this is war," she said, "then I'm in." I smiled just a little. My girl. We spent the next hour going through the evidence together. Ella had always been sharp, but something new had taken root in her, calculated, strategic, almost cold. "You think I can get the house?" she asked. "You will get the house." "And the car?" It's in my name. It'll be his Uber chariot from now on. What about his job? He already lost it. Moral clause violation. His boss got a copy of that recording. She blinked. That wasn't you? Nope. Might have been Kelsey. For the first time that morning, Ella laughed. It was short, almost bitter, but it was a start. Then she opened her laptop again. Okay, she said. Let's build the war chest. You don't need to burn the house down to destroy a man. Sometimes all it takes is silence. Ella didn't confront him that day. She didn't throw the laptop across the room or toss his clothes on the lawn. When Travis finally shuffled out of their bedroom around noon, yawning like a hungover college kid, she was already outside in the garden, pruning her lavender. Wearing her birthday girl hoodie. She waved at him. He blinked. Hey babe. Sorry I missed dinner last night. That client call went. Totally fine, she said. We'll celebrate tonight instead. He nodded, relieved. Kissed her on the cheek. You're the best. Ella smiled like the Mona Lisa and went back to her shears. She didn't need to confront him because the noose was already cinched. Everything from that moment forward was a tightening of the rope. First came the finances. She'd quietly opened a new bank account and started diverting her direct deposits there. She canceled the joint credit cards one at a time, citing potential fraud. She even requested new logins to their shared utilities, citing security concerns. He didn't notice a thing. Second came the house. See, technically, Ella had bought it. The down payment came from her mom's inheritance. And the deed? Sole ownership, though Travis thought they'd added him during a refi 2 years ago. They hadn't. Ella confirmed it with the county clerk on Monday and filed a lien block just in case he tried to do something shady. Still, Travis acted like the king of the castle. Left his beard trimmings in the sink. Played FIFA until midnight. Texted Ella from the bathroom. Bring me a Gatorade? Real prince behavior. Third came the employment side. Travis had been working from home, but since the trap we'd set, he'd been suspiciously quiet about work. Ella played dumb. You still up for that big promotion? He hesitated. Yeah. Actually, I've been thinking of freelancing. More freedom, you know? Freedom, sure. Or maybe it had something to do with the fact that his company's ethics office had received a fully anonymized file linking Travis Whitaker to a double-life affair, cohabitation deception, and a long paper trail of expense abuse. Not that we'd know who sent that. By Thursday, things escalated. Kelsey called Ella. They'd never spoken before. Ella put the phone on speaker. I just wanted to say, Kelsey said, I didn't know about you. I'm sorry. Ella didn't say anything at first, just stared at the salt shaker on the table. Then, calmly, did he ever say he loved you? Yes, every time he left. That tracks. Kelsey sniffed. I broke it off. I know. I told him you cheated on him with his boss. A pause. What? Ella sipped her tea. He bought it. Took it personally, too. Guess it hurts to be the one left. I didn't say a word. Just sat in the corner of her kitchen, eating half-stale cookies and trying not to grin. My daughter had gone full chess master. Friday morning, Travis came downstairs in a mild panic. I think someone hacked our bank account, he said. Oh, there's no deposit from your job, and one of the cards declined. That's weird, Ella said, barely looking up from her tablet. You should call them. He stared at her, confused, starting to sweat. Also, she added, the lawyer called. Said our appointments moved to Monday. He blinked. What lawyer? She smiled. Marriage counseling. I figured we could talk to someone. About boundaries. About lies. You know. Communication. He nodded slowly. Sure. Yeah. Okay. He had no idea he was walking into a room with a divorce attorney. Ella turned to me after he left and said, You think he'll finally catch on? Not yet, I said. He's too busy trying to outrun the avalanche to realize he started it. Travis had never been inside a lawyer's office before. You could tell the second he walked into that beige waiting room with the framed motivational quotes and scuffed-up chairs. He looked like a man expecting a slightly awkward therapy session. Maybe a few feelings to unpack, a little talk about intimacy. What he got was Margaret Klein, Yescu, wearing a navy suit and a facial expression that said, "I've buried better men than you." Ella had chosen Margaret for two reasons. One, she didn't flinch at Travis's type, charming on the surface, all teeth and spin underneath. And two, she came highly recommended by a woman in Ella's HR department who used to be married to a pharmaceutical rep with issues. I sat in my truck in the parking lot. I wasn't in the room, but I'd read the script. We'd written it together the night before, over takeout and a bottle of wine. Travis entered first, sat down, fidgeted. Ella entered second, carrying a manila envelope. Calm, hair pulled back, no makeup, professional, focused. Margaret introduced herself. "Marriage counseling, right?" Travis asked, half smiling. Ella didn't sit. She pulled out the envelope and set it on the table. Inside, printouts of hotel receipts, screenshots of text messages, a transcript of the audio from Kelsey's apartment, a photo of Travis feeding noodles to a woman who wasn't his wife, a notarized letter requesting separation. Travis didn't speak for a full minute. When he did, his voice cracked. Wait. This is a setup." Margaret didn't blink. "This is a dissolution request under Iowa Code Section 598. I recommend you read it. This isn't what it looks like." Ella tilted her head. "It looks like you've been cheating on me with someone named Kelsey Jordan for over a year. She means nothing. Then this should be easy." He stood up. "Paste. We can fix this. I was going to end it. You told her I was career-obsessed and didn't want kids." He froze. "I found your note in the sock drawer, Travis. You wrote a speech for breaking up with me." Silence. Then he made his mistake. "You can't take the house. My name's on the loan." Margaret cleared her throat. "Actually, it isn't. Ms. Whitmore purchased the home with inheritance funds and never added you to the deed. You may be entitled to a percentage of equity, but given the dissipation of marital assets." Travis sank into the chair. "What does that mean?" "It means," Margaret said, folding her hands, "that any money you spent on your affair, hotels, dinners, transportation, comes out of your share of the divorce." "And the car?" he asked, almost whispering. "In Ella's name. My job. We're aware your employment was terminated. The reasons are, unfortunately, public." He looked at Ella, then really looked like he didn't recognize the person in front of him. "You planned this," he said, voice barely above her breath. "Yes," she said. "I planned it while you were lying. While you were kissing another woman in my sweater. While you were eating my pot roast and texting her under the table. I made a mistake." "No," she said. "You made a choice. Over and over." He stood, shoulders hunched. "What am I supposed to do now?" Margaret slid a pen across the table. "Start by signing this." When Ella came out to the truck, she didn't cry. Didn't say a word for a while. Just sat there in the passenger seat, watching a mother herd her kids into a minivan across the lot. Then she said, "He still thought I beg." I nodded. "He never knew who he married." She smiled then. "Not big, not for long. But it was real." "Let's go home," she said. We did. And as we pulled out, I saw Travis sitting on the curb outside the office. Phone in hand. Alone. No ride. No plan. The settlement meeting was short. Efficient. Surgical. By the time Travis walked in, the decision tree had already been pruned down to a stump. He looked thinner. His hair wasn't gelled for once, and he wore a wrinkled button-down he hadn't ironed properly. His lawyer, some guy from a mid-tier firm in West Des Moines, had the energy of someone who'd only recently explained to Travis that marital asset dissipation wasn't just a phrase Ella had made up. We weren't there to humiliate him. Ella wanted it clean. Fast. No mess. He sat down across from her. Didn't look up. Margaret did the talking. In accordance with Iowa Code 598.21, we are proposing that Ms. Whitmore retain the primary residence and vehicle. The justification lies in the sole purchase of the home using non-marital inheritance funds and the fact that the car was bought, maintained, and titled solely in her name. Travis said nothing. His lawyer whispered something. He nodded barely. We also have itemized records of marital funds spent on the extramarital relationship, hotels, meals, gifts, transportation. The total comes to $13,412.79. This will be deducted from any claim Mr. Whitaker may have to remaining joint assets. He flinched at the number. And finally, Margaret continued, Ms. Whitmore is not seeking alimony, provided this agreement is accepted without contest. Otherwise, we will move to discovery, including subpoenas for employment records and character witnesses. Travis finally looked up. Can we just not make this worse? He asked Ella. I'm not the monster you think I am. She stared at him for a long moment. I saw the flicker behind her eyes, memories trying to rise. The Christmas he got her that bracelet. The morning they painted the nursery even though they didn't have a baby yet. The night he kissed her hand at the kitchen table and told her she made life worth living. Then the memories shattered like glass under a boot. You already made it worse, she said. I'm just finishing it. He signed. Just like that, it was done. The fallout came in slow waves. Travis moved back in with his mother in Cedar Rapids. Word got out first as whispers, then as casual office gossip among Ella's coworkers. HR people are like CIA agents in cardigans. No secrets stay buried. Kelsey? She vanished from his life without a trace. Blocked him on everything. A friend of hers messaged Ella thanking her for warning a stranger and saying she was getting therapy now. She didn't ask for details. Just said, tell your dad thanks too. Travis tried to get his job back. Turns out tech firms with family-first branding don't love having their mid-level managers exposed in what was essentially a case study in deception. The recording didn't help. Neither did the printouts. He applied to 3 other companies. Ella never reached out, never interfered. But someone must have sent those HR departments copies of his termination letter. I never said a word. A month later, Ella threw out the last of his things, some old Xbox games, a few sweaters, and one of those pretentious beard oils he used to keep in the bathroom like a bottle of aftershave cologne. She didn't cry when she packed the box. Just turned to me and said, you want to burn it? Nah, I said. We're not in high school. We donated it all to Goodwill. On a cold Tuesday, I saw him again. I was in line at the Hy-Vee deli. Travis walked in wearing an oversized hoodie, AirPods in. He didn't see me until he did. His face went pale. I didn't say a thing. Just nodded once. Calm. Civil, then turned back to my turkey and cheddar. He stood there for a moment like he wanted to say something. Apologize. Explain. Rage. Who knows? Then he turned and walked out. Didn't buy a thing? It's strange what lingers. You think it'll be the big moments, the yelling, the signatures on thick paper, the sight of someone crumbling in a lawyer's office. But it's not. It's the quiet stuff. The hum of the fridge during the silence that follows. The way Ella looks at the front door now before locking it twice. The extra second she takes before smiling again. She kept the house. Painted the bedroom. Got new sheets. Donated the coffee mugs Travis liked. Kept the dog Bella even though she was always his dog. Funny thing? Bella started sleeping on Ella's side of the bed after he left. Maybe she knew. Ella went back to work like nothing had happened. Handled performance reviews, led policy meetings, even planned the holiday party. People whispered at first. Then they stopped. That's what happens when you hold your head up. They run out of stories. She never dated during those months. She wasn't ready. Said she wanted silence. Space. Clean air. I respected that. Some nights she came over for dinner and we sat on the porch listening to crickets, saying nothing. Just 2 people who'd been through something and made it to the other side with fewer illusions and stronger bones. One night, maybe 3 months after the dust settled, I asked her, you ever think about what you'd say to him now? She sipped her tea. Thought for a long moment. Then, no. And then, actually, yeah. I'd tell him thank you. I looked at her. For the lesson? I asked. For the clarity, she said. Because I always wondered if I was too much. Too ambitious. Too serious. And now I know I was never the problem. I smiled at that. Because damn, if I could bottle that moment and hand it to every daughter in the world, I would. I got a letter a few weeks ago. From Kelsey. She found my P.O. box, something I'd only given her in passing. It wasn't long. She said she was in therapy, moved to Chicago, and started working at a nonprofit that helps women leave toxic relationships. At the end she wrote, I still think about the night you called me. I was waiting to hear you scream at me or judge me or say something cruel. But you didn't. You were kind. Cold, yes, but kind. You gave me the truth. That's more than Travis ever gave either of us. I pinned the letter to the corkboard in my garage, right next to Ella's kindergarten drawing of a dinosaur that says, "My dad is brave." Still has the macaroni glued to it, half cracked off. As for Travis? Last I heard, he's working at some discount marketing firm doing remote contract gigs. Living back in Cedar Rapids with his mother. No steady job. No friends. No marriage. And no idea how many people had to work together to make his fall feel like gravity. Ella never blocked his number. She never responded either. He sends texts sometimes. Holidays. Birthdays. Little notes like, "Hope you're doing well," or "I was an idiot." I've changed. She deletes them. But I read one once. Just to see. And I laughed out loud alone on my porch. He wrote, "I think we could find our way back if we just talk." I wanted to write back, "She's not where you left her, son. She's 10 miles down the road, walking taller than ever, and she doesn't look back anymore." But I didn't. Because the silence says it better. Because sometimes the loudest revenge is the life you rebuild in full view of the man who never expected you to rise. And sometimes, not saying a damn thing is the loudest thing of all.